Alrighty then, The Merchant of Venice. Act 1, Scene 1. We're carrying on from where we left off last time. Now, please be aware, I am in a school. There are children running around playing. There'll be all kinds of sounds. I may even have to stop the video periodically and get back to it. So, yep, if that bothers you, maybe you're not at the right place. But if you really want to get through this play, well, you've come to the right place. Now, my videos work best if you actually have the script with you. My aim here is to build a bridge between you and Shakespearean language. If Shakespearean language is challenging, I hope to demystify that somewhat. I don't actually say this in many of my videos, but I want you to bear in mind that my interpretation, and any interpretation by anybody, any scholar, is solely theirs. And occasionally, your interpretation, whoever you are, may be more apt than someone who knows more about Shakespeare. This is a muscle, okay? It's something you learn to understand and learn to interpret, but no matter what, there's always more to be learned. And I've learned from years of helping teenagers with Shakespeare that often they have far better ideas than adults or even than the footnotes in books by scholars. So please bear that in mind. So where we've left off is we had Antonio. Antonio was sad. Didn't know why. His two friends, Salario and Salanio, said, "You know what? It must be because you're worried about your money." He assured them that it wasn't. They were tired of hearing him sulk. So as soon as they see his kinsmen, Bassanio and Lorenzo and Grittanio, they're very happy to leave him there. They make their excuses and carry on, right? And they won't even stay and hang out with the other guys. So let's see. We've got Salario and Salanio off. It's at about line 70 in my book. The lines may differ, the line numbering may differ from book to book, but it's about line 70, sort of the first line of Lorenzo, I believe, and the last of Salario. Okay, so Salario and Salanio are gone off. Okay, fantastic. Lorenzo then says, "My lord Bassanio, since you have found Antonio, we too will leave you. But at dinner time, I pray you have in mind where we must meet." And Bassanio goes, "I will not fail you." He's basically saying, look, we've helped you find your cousin. You've got him. So we'll leave you with him, but just let us know when you're coming to dinner, okay? And he goes, "Sure, I'll let you know." Grittanio goes, "You look not well, Signor Antonio. You have too much respect upon the world. They lose it that do buy it with much care. Believe me, you are marvellously changed." So, "you look not well, Signor Antonio," I think is pretty self-explanatory. When he says you have too much respect upon the world, I think he's saying you hold the world in too high a regard. He's saying you think too much about the world, you know? And he says, "They lose it that do buy it with too much care." I guess what he's saying there is, if you show too much care, too much intensity, too much worry about the world, you're going to lose yourself. Not lose it, but you're going to lose the world if you try and buy it with too much care. Does that make sense? You can't enjoy life if you're too worried about it. Then he goes, "Believe me, you are marvelously changed." It's almost like Shakespeare's trying to impress upon us how the way this guy looks is so different from how they're accustomed to seeing him. And then he says, "Antonio, I hold the world but as the world, Grittanio, a stage where every man must play a part." And of course, I imagine that's an allusion to another Shakespeare play. I'm not sure whether this one or that one came first, but all the world's a stage and the people in it are merely players. This was a notion in the Elizabethan theatre, or the Elizabethan times, that they just really saw the whole world as a stage. And so, yeah. So he goes, "A stage where every man must play a part, and mine a sad one." So he looks, everybody has to be, everybody is an actor in the stage called the world. Unfortunately, the role I'm playing is one of a sad person. Right. So what's interesting about the scene is that it is never explained why Antonio is sad. It's never, that question is never wrapped up. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's mental health? What would you say? You could totally let me know in the comments what you think, why he's so sad. I think we can all relate to being sad and not knowing it. I'm going to go ahead and be a little bit taboo and say what I think, even though the timelines don't hint at it at all. There's been a lot of speculation that Shakespeare was gay. I don't know if it's true, I don't know if it isn't. But certainly, what with being an actor and a writer, he was certainly surrounded by people who would have felt that way. And I wonder, scandalous, I wonder if Antonio knows about Portia before Bassanio tells him about her, and I wonder if Antonio is actually in love with Bassanio. That's my little theory. Don't know how much water it holds, but let me know what you think. And what other theories you may have heard as to why Antonio just has this depression. Is it just depression? Okay. Britannia goes, "Let me play the fool. With mirth and laughter let old wrinkles come, and let my liver rather heat with wine than my heart cool with mortifying groans." What beautiful language there. Let me play the fool. So can you imagine sort of a harlequin or a fool in the king's court? Or a clown, or even an actor, even a comedian, right? And when we talk about playing the fool, it's really those people whose job it is to make the rest of us laugh, especially in this period, right? So he goes, "Let me play the fool with mirth and laughter." You're all clear what laughter is? Mirth is joy. It goes with laughter, right? Let old wrinkles come. Okay, sorry. With mirth and laughter, let old wrinkles come. So it's basically, I think he wants laugh lines rather than frown lines, right? He'd rather get his wrinkles from smiling a lot and having laugh lines. He goes, "And let my liver rather heat with wine than my heart cool with mortifying groans." He's saying, let me rather drink and enjoy wine and enjoy life, right, than have a cold heart. Let me party and enjoy my life instead of having a cold heart with mortifying groans, with deathly groans, right? He goes, "Why should a man whose blood is warm within sit like the grandsire, cut in alabaster, sleep when he wakes, and creep into the jaundice by being peevish?" Okay, so why should a man whose blood is warm within sit like a grandsire? So a man whose blood is warm would be a young person. Why should he sit like his grandpa, his grandsire, right? Or great-grandpa, whatever the case is. Cut in alabaster. What the image of that gives to me is one of... Just a second. Okay, so when we talk about cut in alabaster, what comes to mind for me is an alabaster statue. It could also be the tombstone in which the person's name is carved. So he goes, "Sleep when he wakes." Why should a man sleep when he wakes? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Why should he creep into the jaundice by being peevish? Jaundice, like when your skin gets yellow. Why should he creep into the jaundice? So what he's alluding to here with, the talk of warm blood and jaundice and liver and all of that is the four humours. And it would be helpful, perhaps I'll make a video on the four humours in Shakespeare, and at that point I'll probably put a link in the description, so please watch out for that, because the four humours, basically Shakespearean people believe that your mood and your health and everything related to four parts of your body, which were all related to an element in the sky, and these four parts of your body decided what your moods were and what your personalities were. Okay, but that's just a very quick, lazy way of saying it. We don't quite have the time in the scope of this video to say more on that, so I'll be sure to do the four humours at some point. And creep into the jaundice by being peevish. Now let's see. "I'll tell thee what, Antonio, I love thee." I think that's clear, right? "I'll tell thee what, Antonio, I love thee, and 'tis my love that speaks. There are a sort of men whose visages do cream and mantle like a standing pot." A visage is a face. And he's saying that there are a sort of men whose faces and features and expression have scum on the surface, right? And scum that you cannot see through. Okay? And it says, "And do a willful stillness entertain, with purpose to be dressed in an opinion of wisdom." So basically he's saying they entertain a willful stillness. They're willfully or stubbornly still and quiet. Stoic, right? And why? With the purpose to be dressed in an opinion of wisdom. So as he said earlier, they're willfully still, right? And they're very quiet, so that people who look at them would think that they're terribly wise, they're terribly dressed in wisdom, because they look very serious, right? Of wisdom, gravity, to be grave, and profound conceit. Okay, I don't know what else to say. A deep sense of ego, profound conceit. As who should say, I am Sir Oracle, and when I ope my lips, let no dog bark, right? So almost an allusion to Nestor that we spoke about earlier, I suppose. The Nestor kind of serious character. Oh, my Antonio, I do know of these, that therefore are only reputed wise for saying nothing. Right? He's saying, I know that some people always look super grave and serious, and they've got the reputation of being wise just because they don't say anything. And that's a reference to the Bible. I believe it's Matthew 5, verse 22. Okay. And then he goes that even though he knows people who are very serious and very grave because they want everybody to think they're so wise but not saying anything, he goes, when I am very sure if they should speak, would almost damn those ears which hearing them would call their brothers fools. He's saying that these very quiet and serious people would, if they were to open their mouth, they would damn those ears which would call their brothers fools, right? The minute other people hear, the minute their brothers or everybody else hears them speak, they go, oh my gosh, wow, this guy's an idiot. He's been so quiet and so serious all the time. I thought he was very wise, but actually he's a downright idiot. That's essentially what they're saying. Then Lorenzo says, well, we'll leave you then till dinner time, and I must be one of these same dumb wise men, for Grattanio never lets me speak. Sorry, that's hilarious. So Grattanio is another person that has mentioned how Sir Antonio looks, right? But he never gave Antonio a moment to speak. He's like, yada, 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 yada. This is why you look sad. And you know what? People who are so quiet and serious want everybody to think they're wise, but I don't think anybody's wise. Who's always quiet. What if they're fools? And Lorenzo goes, you know what? I'm always quiet because I can never get a word in with this guy. Alrighty then. So they're about to leave Antonio and Bassanio alone. And Grattanio goes, well, keep me company but 2 years more. It says M-O-E, Mo. Sounds like he's a rapper, doesn't it? Keep me company but 2 years more. Thou shalt not know the sound of thine own tongue. He's saying, you know what, if you hang out with me for another 2 years, you won't even hear yourself speak. Antonio says, fare you well. I'll grow a talker for this year. And Grattanio goes, thanks, in faith, for silence is only commendable in a neat tongue, dried, and a maid not vendible. So when you see that rhyme, that rhyming couplet, you know that a scene or a part of a scene is done. So basically when Antonio says, fare you well, that's bye, see you later, I'll grow a talker for all this gear. I'll become a talker because you're talking all kinds of nonsense. And then, okay, just need to check. I've got to keep an eye on the kids while I'm teaching this lesson. Then that's rhyming couplets, as I mentioned earlier. It goes, thanks in faith. So thank you in faith. For silence is only commendable. Silence is something that we can only admire in a neat tongue dried and a maid not vendible, right? A woman we cannot sell in marriage, don't worry. A woman we cannot sell in marriage like an old maid. A neat tongue dried. A dried tongue, I know my father used to like to eat the tongue of the lamb when we slaughtered it at Easter. So basically, the tongue was a delicacy, as I understand it in this day and age. Okay, so I'm just going to say that again because I feel like I was rattling. It goes, thanks in faith, For silence is only commendable. Silence is only something that you can admire or tolerate in a neat's tongue dried, a dead animal's tongue, I suppose, or a maid not vendible, a young woman that we cannot sell in marriage, okay? A vendor is somebody who puts someone out in the marketplace. I'm not sure I articulated that very well, but I found that part of the scene very, very funny. I hope you have enjoyed that. If you understood something better or in a better way, please let me know in the comments. Please do like and subscribe. I also do value your feedback. I'd like some feedback as to how these videos are going for you, and anything you really care to say. Hopefully it'll be kind, though. I would appreciate kind words even when there's criticism, but I do need to go. I've got to be watching the kids. See you guys soon around these parts. Bye.